Hello, I'm Megan Amundsen, and I'm talking to you today about how to use the Fearless Board Fundraising Program to transform your nonprofit board into a fundraising board. You need your board to fundraise because your organization can't depend on staff alone to create a sustainable organization that's growing to fulfill your very important mission. You need the extra capacity that board members bring to the table, and you need to bring in new people to your organization. Your board members are volunteers. And fundraising is a professional skill set. It's unrealistic to expect people who have never fundraised before to join your board and suddenly be able to do a professional job they never learned to do. And to talk to people about something they're anxious to talk about. This challenge of needing a volunteer body to develop professional skills is why I created the Fearless Board Fundraising Program. Because getting your board to fundraise isn't about implementing a series of quick fixes or a few one-off trainings. In my experience, the training alone never got board members to fundraise. You need to put in a program in place that actually trains your board how to do this professional job. You need to both chip away the psychological barriers your board members face trying to fundraise and build their skill in fundraising so they can continue to grow in confidence. The transformation happens when you address both pieces of the puzzle. That's when your board becomes a fundraising board. It's where the Fearless Fundraising Program builds in so much structure and so many supports to get your board members there. It's once we start putting the structures in place that I begin to see the transformation in my Fearless Board Fundraising clients. I watched Don, a board member I work with, go from being very uncertain about talking to donors to being excited. His very first outreach to a donor was to someone who grew up in his town and went to his high school. He had a great engagement with that donor and walked away feeling energized that he had the opportunity to really connect with people, not just ask them for money. I heard from Kanzi after just 3 months in the Fearless Board Fundraising Program just how much she loved the accountability structure, which deepened her working relationship with her board colleagues and kept her motivated and on track with her donor outreach. As a seasoned board fundraiser, even she was building fundraising skills that made her excited about talking to donors on her list. I heard from Gretchen and Abe how they were really resistant to doing donor outreach because they weren't sure how to position their organization. As entrepreneurs, they were used to pitching things, and when it came to their organization, they didn't know what they were pitching. But as we were together, and it became clearer and clearer to them that a donor conversation isn't a pitch, they were able to put their heads together to come up with their own case statement for their organization. There was just a couple sentences that they could work into the conversation, and they were so energized by the case they made that they were excited to tell donors all about it. The Fearless Board Fundraising Program gets your board members on the path to becoming great fundraisers and builds a culture of accountability. But along the way, it does so much more. In just a few short months, the clients I work with to implement the Fearless Board Fundraising Program build stronger relationships with their board accountability partners. They may do problem solving together or support each other in each step of the process as they struggle, or workshop their outreach together and practice donor conversations together. Alone, your board members are going to flail in their fundraising efforts. It won't take much for them to give up. Together, your board members are going to motivate each other and keep each other on track to help each other through the hard parts. Okay, well, maybe not this much. But together, your board accountability pairs will take more ownership of the fundraising process because they're not doing it alone. And, in turn, they will over time require less support from staff in doing it. In just 3 months, the boards I work with have already begun to develop a culture of accountability. What would you give to have a culture of accountability around fundraising for your board? Organizations who choose to do the Fearless Board Fundraising Program do it because they want to transform their boards into fundraising boards. And it's a powerful program for that. But the reason you want a fundraising board is because you want a stronger organization to achieve your mission. And the Fearless Board Fundraising Program helps you build that in more ways than just transforming your board. The Fearless Board Fundraising Program requires that the organization create fundraising structures for board members. These structures help you implement a more strategic fundraising program, and it turns out, when you have board members who take ownership of their role in fundraising, they help you find gaps and blind spots along the way. One of my clients found the board fundraising program that their stewardship had been falling down and learned that one of the reasons that board members were resistant to fundraising was because they had a negative experience themselves in not being thanked, at least not in the way they wanted to be thanked, by their organization. We began working together because they intended to relaunch a capital campaign that they had put on hold during the pandemic. The Fearless Board Fundraising Program was a great way to get their board ready to fundraise and start uncovering new major donors they wanted to engage for the campaign. For an organization getting ready to relaunch a capital campaign that had been put on hold during the pandemic, this feedback that the stewardship program wasn't as strong as they thought it was pure gold. They wouldn't have discovered it if they hadn't been working so closely with their board members. And since the organization wasn't going to redo its feasibility study, there was no other mechanism that would have let them know that their stewardship was a problem. Another client found specific shortcomings in their database that made it really challenging to engage their board members in fundraising. Along the way, they uncovered interesting trends in giving that they never would have looked at had board members not been doing outreach to donors. Now, they can craft more targeted strategies for different donor segments they didn't even realize were in their donor pool in the first place. When your board members truly take ownership of their role in fundraising for your organization, not only are they uncovering your next major donors who want to be more engaged with your organization, they gather data you can use to better engage all kinds of donor segments, even donor segments you've never thought about. By now, you're probably wondering how the Fearless Board fundraising model works. And I'm going to tell you. Stay tuned for my next video where I walk you through it all. Have questions, comments? Leave them below. Stay tuned for more.